Howdy folks, welcome to 20th Century Adventures Artifact of the Week. This week we're going to do a 2-for-1. We want to show off two different really cool things. So the first one is, and those of you who have watched the squirrel hunting video, you've seen this gun before. This is my roughly 1917, I'm not sure on the date, but somewhere between 1915 and 1920. This is a Stevens 22 cartridge in 22 short or 22 long rifle. So these were basically hardware store guns. They don't have a serial number because it's just a tool. It's not even, at the time it wasn't even thought of as a gun. These didn't come with serial numbers. They were just mass-produced, cheap hardware store guns. You could buy them right next to the hammers. You know, it was a varmint gun. It was for shooting groundhogs or whatever was, you know, raccoons, whatever was getting into your livestock, getting into your feed. And they were great for plinking. They were good boys' guns. A lot of times these were given to young boys, much like a BB gun, but you could do a lot more damage with a 22, so you could actually hunt squirrels or rabbits, even raccoons, with a 22 like this, whereas you couldn't with an air rifle. So this gun has a lot of cool features. It loads through the loading rod here. It'll hold about 9 or 10 rounds, and it's bolt action. So I had a cartridge. That was a empty cartridge that came out of there. So bolt action. Close it, and it's got this knob on the back, so that if you have it cocked without a round in it, or even if you do, you can let off that cock with it without it dry firing. These are really bad to dry fire. Don't ever dry fire one of these guns because you stand a good chance of breaking the firing pin. It does have a safety, which was kind of a new innovation in guns at this time. A lot of guns didn't have safeties, but this one does, and it's a mechanical, just right there, pull it up and you can't pull the trigger. I think it just blocks the trigger when you pull it up, and then you push it back down and you're good to go. It's got an adjustable rear sight. In theory, you could do some long range shooting with it. I haven't found it to be real accurate long range. It's got a single screw down here that doesn't come all the way out. It just unscrews, and then you can pull the whole assembly out of the stock. So these would actually be sold with a bag usually. I don't have the bag for this one. I've got one that's similar but doesn't fit this gun. But they would come in a bag, and you could probably slid in something like this so that it would take up less space. There's a little canvas bag with two slots, one for the stock, one for the assembly, and then it usually had a little pocket or something that you could put your rounds in, and it had a leather handle that would allow you to carry it. So kind of handy, pretty neat piece. This one's seen a hard life. It's got a lot of, somebody sanded down the stock on it, and it looks like it had something mounted on the sides here. I don't know what that was. And it doesn't exactly fit the stock anymore. The stock has shrank away from the inletting, so it kind of rattles. But believe it or not, it still shoots straight. Again, it's not a long range gun, but it's pretty decent at 30 to 40 yards. So the other thing we're going to show off here today is this original 1920s 22 target. These were designed for shooting with 22 rifles or pistols or whatever. It is cast iron, so for that reason, the fact that it's cast iron and the fact that it's very old, this is clearly 100 years old, maybe more. I don't want to shoot it with modern rounds. Of course, you would never want to shoot a jacketed round or a solid point round through one of these older guns. It's just really hard on what's left of the rifling. Always use a lead point round when you're shooting guns that are 100 years old. Also, always shoot lead if you're shooting at a metal target, because steel and stuff will bounce off. Even the bismuth rounds are harder than lead is, and so you just stand a more chance of ricochet when you're shooting at a metal target, unless you're using a lead round that's going to flatten out and fall down. Also, with it being cast iron, I don't want to break it, and so I've actually bought some specific rounds, and I've already tried them out, and they're actually too light. What I've got are these the Aguila 22. These have no gunpowder in them. It's just the ignition charge of the cap, rimfire, of course. So I bought these thinking, the maximum velocity on this is like 580 feet per second. So I thought, well, this will be light enough that it won't break my target. However, it is so light that it won't actually flip the targets down like it's supposed to. So it's really not much more than an air rifle. It will ring the gong, but it doesn't knock the chickens down. So I'll show you how that works here in just a second. But these were real popular. They were cheap. You could order them out of catalogs, and just a whole lot of fun to set up in your backyard, similar to the swinging gongs and stuff that you can buy for 22s today. But this is just so much cooler with the shapes and there were different shapes. But these chickens, these roosters, were real popular. I've seen a lot of these still in existence today, so apparently they held up pretty well. And it's got springs on the back, presumably to help spring that back down, although the weight alone would probably do it. And I'm not sure, these tend to lay down. I'm not sure if they're supposed to spring back up and something doesn't work here, or if they are meant to just lay down and you set them up manually. Somebody who knows more about these might be able to tell me. But I can see where they're definitely warped. You can see they've got this cupping, and that's probably from shooting more heavy rounds, more modern rounds at it. And there's dents in the sheet metal front, which is probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. So somebody's hit it with some heavy duty stuff, but I really didn't want to take that chance and risk breaking this really cool 100-year-old target. So anyway, let's go shoot them. Well, there it is, folks. The 1917 Stevens single shot 22 rifle and the 1920s 22 rifle target. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you down the road.